With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
With just 2 rounds to go, the Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series heads into its closing stages, and today marks the final opportunity for drivers to have some bad luck. It's time to go racing from Suzuka as part of our Tuesday night GT3 doubleheader. The Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series is ready to get underway. Hello everyone and welcome back along to RaceSpotTV, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, not alongside with Joey Tebben here today. Instead, Lorenzo Bonder has a late night, early morning over in Europe as we get set to go racing, Lorenzo, at one of the most historic tracks across of global motorsports.
Yeah, one of my favorite tracks in not just in Japan, motorsports in general, Suzuka. One of the most iconic tracks, not because it is just clockwise, but also is one of the few figure 8 tracks in the whole world, and is highly technical. And drivers, those who need points, and I mean really need points, need to be precise with every corner they go and mind the traffic and everything else.
Here's a look at that series schedule, where we've been, where we still got left to go. Rudskogen, the second of our new tracks to close out the season, so there's some uncertainty for everybody going into the championship showdown in 7 days' time. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, while drivers are allowed to drop one of the championship rounds, it cannot be the final one, and that is why it's significant that if you're going to have some issues, you have them here tonight. Here's a look at your GT3 Fixed championship standings, though, where Michael Terrafino has built up a 33-point advantage over Floyd Kerr in the battle for the title. And well, 33 points, it's not completely a race victory just yet, but Michael Terrafino with a good performance here and maybe adding to the 4 wins that he's had so far, Lorenzo is not far away from potentially locking himself in as champion. As Lorenzo has forgotten to unmute himself, the Cardinals in for a commentator.
The Cardinals in for the commentator, and for me happens often. But the Sully Saad came strong in the Dakota round, so we could definitely have some competition. Maybe a delay to the last round, that coronation of Michael Terrafino and his consistency around the season. But if there's a track there you can drop points easily, it's this one. It's Suzuka. It's infamous. We've seen many cases of people ending their races early.
Yes, that is for sure. Don't forget Michael Terrafino, the sole BMW in the fight against the might of the Porsches. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Here's a look at your team standings for this GT3 Fix Series, where Team Beef, led by Michael Terrafino, have built up what is almost now a 90-point advantage over Vulture Motorsports North, led by Gary Brown, who's 4th in points. We Race Esports only 1 point back. Reality is here, Lorenzo, we're not really looking at the battle for first, we're looking at the battle for second.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for that battle for second. Team Beef has dominated the entire season, done really good, decent races. Terrafino just carrying the load for the team. And it's going to be interesting. We Race, I think, has a really good opportunity to make some ground, gain some points, and close that. Not just to close the gap, but overtake and who knows, maybe get like 5-10 points coming to the final race.
Let's not forget that for We Race Esports was not the easiest of runs last time out. That's a look top to bottom at your championship standings here in this Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series for 2022, season number 4. Don't forget, sign-ups are open for all Precision Racing League events. Head on over to social media and precisionracingleague.com to learn more. Before we get started, let's take the time to thank those that make this possible, starting with the virtual competition organization. Whether it's blurring the lines between virtual and reality with the VCO Pro Sim series, or trying stuff new in esports racing with the Esports Racing League, VCO has you covered. Head to twitch.tv/VCO Esports to follow along with all of your racing action. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All Precision Racing League members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So as drivers get set for qualifying, once again, Lorenzo, it's important to maximize this 10-minute session and move yourself towards the top of the board.
Yeah, and I already saw some of the drivers, trying to maximize the track usage. It's a very infamous track because it is so twisty. It has so many elevation changes, and the car behavior can just snap completely out of your hands and make the car more undrivable than you probably wanted to. So it increases the difficulty of getting that perfect lap. It's going to be an interesting one, I would say track position, I think out of the other tracks kind of matters over here. If you want to be, I think you have to be around the top 4 for you to be within a safe-ish position. Get the top 4 is going to be difficult, as I know Kenny Duval, I think, wants to retain that spot for the time being, but let's see. There's still around 4 minutes, and that's right around 2 laps to try to get something else.
We always tend to see some variance in terms of what laps are the fast laps across those qualifying sessions. Here's the We Race Esports Ferrari, 2nd and 2/10 off the pace. Good pace shown from Kenny Duval in practice as well, has carried it forward here in qualifying. Michael Terrafino going slow and trying to build himself up as he sits in 3rd, with Eric Kulaga then in 4th. 2nd through 4th, split by what is just over 2.5 hundredths of a second. And Dale Peterson as well as Alex Wright, 13th and 14th positions, have tied in terms of lap times right now. So as ever, margins are tight, and even the smallest of improvements will see you find your way forward. Let's see what the time will be for the We Race Esports Ferrari. Down the hill and cutting the distance. It's a slight improvement of 0.5 of a second. But Velos has still got some time to find as Eric Luke punches his way up into 2nd.
Nice lap, not just a very good lap, but a really fast lap. Just about 0.08 from Kenny Duval, so that's a really good performance lap. But normally drivers aboard the second lap to try to go back into the pit lane, reset, get an out lap, and then get a fast lap going, which is kind of like the normal behavior out of the cars. But what I like so far here, Arjun, is kind of like the heterogeneity of the cars. You don't have a dominant car over here. You have two Porsches, and then a Ferrari, then a BMW, then a Lamborghini. And this variation of, cars and in the field makes things more interesting, because I really want to see how the race develop with these different technicalities of the GT3s we have around iRacing.
It's one of your primary passing opportunities down into that hairpin, especially on the opening laps. Here is your provisional pole sitter, Duval, with under 3 minutes left in this qualifying session. Don't forget a 35-minute race after this, as Regan Chandler is up into the top 10. Nicely through Spoon Curve. Down out onto the long run into 130R. So Michael Terrafino 4th, Eric Hulaga 5th. Both cars tracking a bit of improvement so far. Floyd Kerr all the way down in 11th. So Michael Terrafino will just need to maintain his position in order to increase his championship advantage. Kenny Duval is going to only have this lap, and that will be it, with not enough time to complete yet another trip around Suzuka. So down out of the final corner, and the 63 stretch the margin at the front. No improvements. It's a 0.2 slower lap time. Now he waits to see if anyone will find some time.
And just taking a quick look over here in terms of drivers around the track. Floyd was trying to go for that fast lap, but it was spun around the Spoon Curve, so had to reset, came back into the pit lane. He knows there isn't enough time for him to get out and get a fast lap going. He could have tried to do that, but he's going to be stuck. Now it was P13, but Baron Glover now stealing the position, so Floyd Kerr now dropping like a rock in these final minutes.
Arexoy into 12th as well, 7/10 off the pace. Here's Matt Dinsmore in the Mercedes AMG guttural moan as it roars to the line, and he will get some improvement on the board, but it will still only be 31st position for him. Next car to come towards the line is Michael Terrafino, 4th and looking for a quarter of a second. Will that BMW wriggle its way back to the pole for the 6th time in 9 races? It's a 1:58.068, and Michael Terrafino somehow finds pole once more in that BMW.
Wow, what a lap, as we see Eric Luke just coming out of the hairpin.
He won't have time.
You won't have time. He's going to miss by at least 10 seconds minimum. And But what a lap for Terrafino, just like blowing everybody away. Second, which is Kenny Duval, more than a 1/10 of a second away from him. So it just shows that 94, that BMW is beefy.
It is beefy indeed. Matt Scherf will be one of those final cars across the line as he finds his way up into 16th spot. And will there be any more drivers able to cross the line in time? I don't think there will be. They cut it a bit too close, and so qualifying will come to a close. And Michael Terrafino, once again in that BMW, has found his way to the front of the field, ready to go for the penultimate time in this Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series that's run you down through today's starting grid for what is going to be an interesting 35 minutes here in the land of the rising sun. The drivers are getting ready to go, and we are ready to scroll through that starting grid. It's a 1:58.066 for Michael Terrafino, 6 poles in 9 races. It's Kenny Duval alongside with Clauvav Racing, seeing Eric Luke up there as well. Angelo Velos for We Race Esports, the best of the Ferraris, with Eric Hulaga's Lamborghini inside of Alex Wright, who finds his way forward in that Lunatic Racing number 33 machine. Gary Brown and Dale Peterson in row number 4, with Andre Benatti and Regan Chandler making up the rest of the top 10. Roy Brown, as well as Errol Arexoy, will share row number 6, while rolling from 13th, Sean Duhamel has Baron Glover for company. Floyd Kerr and Matt Scherf, 15th and 16th spots, with Kerr having plenty of work to do in the championship fight. Carangis as well as Doucette for Throttle Thursday on row 9. Bookending the top 20, Dave Peterson and then Joe McCauley, while Rodrigo Morales is in 21st. Solly Saad, maybe the curse of Lorenzo Bonder, down in 22nd. Ryan Chandler well down and out of that fight in the battle for the Chandlers. Jeff Leishman will be alongside him. Mark Fahl, Nick Silva, Jod Khalife, Matthias Oranga, and then Jeff Costello and Brandon Six through the top 30. Brandon Six was fighting at the front a week ago. How quickly things can change. We'll scroll through the rest of the names. Lorenzo, of course, no mandatory pit stop, but with limited fuel tanks, we do tend to see pit stops in these races, and therefore drivers will be thinking about how far can they go and how little fuel can they put into their cars.
Yeah, and we saw some strategies back in Coda not working the way of some drivers, right? You saw Andrew Rasmussen trying to get a podium spot in 3 minutes left, like two laps left in the race. Just had to go into the pit lane to do a splash and dash, so his race went from glory to complete abysmal failure, just like that. So it's gonna be Suzuka. You can save more fuel than Coda, obviously. But I just gotta say, Arjuna, if you are in the mid-pack to the all the way in the back, good luck. You are in a world of hurt, man. It's just the word for you to navigate.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this one. I'm not gonna lie. Lap 1 always going to be a bit scary. Now, is there anyone that has decided that it is too scary to even face the prospect of the race start? Looks like Jeff Leishman potentially has elected that discretion is the better part of valor, and will start from pit lane. So 2 rounds to go, and this is the final round where you can make a mistake. It's the championship leader, Michael Terrafino, that once more gets us racing on Tuesday nights in the Precision Racing League GT3 Fixed Series. A storming start from the Team Beef BMW. It's the battle for third. That sees Angelo Velos try to get to the inside of Eric Luke. No movement inside of the top 7 or so. It's Andre Benatti that's been able to slide in front of Dale Peterson. But now, of course, they slide their way through the S's, where you've got to get it single filed if you want to survive. And slowly but surely, single file they go.
Yeah, everybody just kind of like following a very nice file. I also was looking at if Floyd Kerr gained 2 positions from the start, so really good start for the Delta support driver. Just trying to now go for 1 more position, but had to tow back into this foul, and now drivers gonna meet themselves, kind of like, you know, try to measure the pace, drive themselves cleanly, avoid the off tracks, and let's see a really good race going.
Already seeing a bit of separation through some of the cars as they get in towards the hairpin. No moves on lap 1. Couple of cars going defensive just to cover off the prop position there. I think back for like 38th position, it was Andrew Rasmussen and Brian Hoskins that went side by side. But really a surprisingly clean lap number 1, and now all trying to settle into the groove. So it's a BMW that leads from 2 Porsches, and then behind a Lamborghini Ferrari, and a nice mix of manufacturers. But of course, you talked about incident points, Lorenzo. It is so easy to stray wide here at Suzuka, despite the fact there is grass surrounding you at all times.
Yeah, no, but not only that, there's that AstroTurf, and this AstroTurf from Suzuka is quite infamous because the car kind of likes to lose grip whenever you are re-accelerating, especially at the 130R. I saw a few drivers try to take a little bit of that AstroTurf going to the outside, even though they were... Oh, I saw something. That
was Wanu Turbe at the back of the field that's had something happen to him through 130R, but the rest of the field clean on lap 1. So Terrafino, Duval, Luke, Velos, and Kulaga. No change inside the top 5. Have to go all the way back to 8th to indeed be able to find someone that has been able to make a move as Regan Chandler and Brown Glover go side by side. The more they fight, the more they lose track of those in front. You see Rodrigo Morales at the back of the shot. He went wide on the exit of turn 2 as well. But there is starting, like I said, Lorenzo, to be some separation through the pack.
Yeah, which is kind of normal to see. You know, Suzuka is not a track that they can follow be close one another. It has so many grooves that if you battle just for 1 corner, you can lose half a second, and the half a second is very hard for you to catch back. So you have to be mindful of what you're doing, as seeing Greg Doucet and now Nicholas Courageous, I think, just switching position because Nicholas just decided to make a little bit of a fumble coming out of Degner 2.
Yeah, I think we saw at least one of those Throttle Thursday BMWs off and into the gravel as that was RG Bargy at the hairpin, channeling the spirit of Kamui Kobayashi. Now, did Floyd Kerr just use the chrome horn to get his way on past? We'll have to wait and see. And now more trouble at the hairpin. Rodrigo Michelin and Ryan Luna involved in that one. And after a clean lap number 1, the craziness emerges on lap number 2.
But I'm still surprised everybody's still on track. The maximum I think I saw someone lose was around 4 to 5 seconds, maybe to contact or something like that, which is kind of impressive, you know. Seeing 39 cars around the Japanese track, you probably would think, no, this is going to be pandemonium, Arjuna. Everybody's going to die, but everybody just decided to go cleanly and have really good racing. But I think things become more complicated, I think, by lap 10 or something like that, whenever the tires do start to burn out.
Lamborghini drag race, Alex Wright and Eric Kulaga out of the final corner. Kulaga on the inside, but seems to have lost some momentum and now has to try and cover off potentially the swoop around the outside. He won't fight it too hard. And Alex Wright finds his way up inside to the top 5. Nicely done, and now we'll focus on the gap in front. 1.8 seconds and already growing, Regan Chandler continues to have a little bit of struggles here as he is swarmed by some Ferraris and Porsches as Duhamel and Scher fight behind him. Like we said, lap 1 clean. After that, maybe not so much. Look at the RaceSpotTV replay, and Uturbe just cold tires maybe at the end of lap 1 as well. We heard some contact as well in live coverage. That Ferrari now maybe with some damage.
And a Ferrari with some damage is not a good Ferrari to run. That thing is going to be in pain for quite a long time. And nurse that thing in a track like this, it's not going to be easy. Good luck.
So let's see if we can, I think, look at some more replays, because there was a lot more to probably look at than what we did see. Here's a look at something that happened for Rodrigo Morales wide at turn 1, and then I think just focusing more and trying to ensure that he doesn't spin it around. And then this is what happened with the 2 teammates, Carangis and Doucette. Just fighting amongst the 2 of them, and it all just maybe trips over one another. And then what happens into the hairpin? Well, I'm sure we're about to find out. So there was already contact, in fact, initially with the Lamborghini, and Michelin and Luna very much, I think, to some degree, innocent parties there.
Yeah, nothing to do with that, as unfortunately, I'm seeing, I think Alex Wright spun around Arjuna.
At the chicane, Alex Wright is trying to get out of the way, but a scramble that has allowed a 4-car breakaway at the front of the field. Alex Wright has spun his car around, and let's see exactly how this one played out immediately before we even take too many times. Bit of contact and around. Eric Kulaga, the other car involved. Let's look. I was going to say from up above, but that's not going to give us the best angle, is it, Lorenzo? Let's try and look from here.
Yeah. Let's look from the aerial angle. I was looking, I think, from my view, I think Kulaga just kind of like misses the braking point or misjudges the braking point, and how slow Wright was, and just made rear end contact, and Wright, not at fault here, and the rejoin. Really good. Just waited everybody to try to find the clear gap to move forward.
And what happened a little further back then? Sorry, Jawad Khalife. Oh, he gets tagged around as well. And then there's a big old concertina. Jeff Costello, Matheus Aranga. Andre Benatti as well had a brief moment off the track further up in the field. So, we said 4-car breakaway. It's Terrafino, Duval, Luke, and Velos that are streaking away at the front. It's 2 of the Cloud Valve racing machines up against a Team Beef BMW and a We Race Esports Ferrari. Eric Kulaga, Gary Brown, and then Andre Benatti run 5th, 6th, and 7th. And after a quiet start, as the left side indicates, Lorenzo, it's picked up out there on track.
It's a little bit of a pandemonium, isn't it? It kind of picks up if you think, everything is going to be kind of like chaotic from the get-go. Started slowly, but once it picked up like fast, and it's going up like traditional Japanese banzai. So let's see how this thing moves forward, because one thing
wow, out of spoon curve, and that's Jeff Carollo in the number 52. Costello involved again. Well, you say it's all kicking off I think that's maybe a bit of an understatement if we are being completely honest. Here's a look at a RaceSpotTV replay of what's happened here. And in front of Costello, the Ferrari lost it on the curbing, and then Costello sympathy spins and tags Carollo as a result of that one.
And poor Carollo, man, he did everything right. You know, avoided the Ferrari, sort of, and just because he kind of like touched the Ferrari, karma just happened to him, and the Porsche said, no, you made contact with the Ferrari, that's forbidden. Oh,
and now Andrew Rasmussen goes around in the Audi. I'm sure we'll figure out what happened to him. Talking of Audis, by the way, let's not forget that, you know, Floyd Kerr would be a lot closer in this championship, Lorenzo, if he had not switched from the Audi to the Porsche mid-season, which incurs you a 20-point penalty. So the championship lead stands at 33 coming into tonight. And yes, Michael Terrafino is leading once again and trying to look for a 5th win of the season. However, we can't emphasize how much that 20 points could have changed the course of the championship as Floyd Kerr looks around the outside of Roy Brown.
Yeah, and Roy kind of put up a little bit of a fight on the hairpin, but Floyd just making quick work out of the 313 and now move forward a position not far from Dale Peterson, so the number 6 can be just in a very bad spot to get caught by Floyd Kerr maybe in the next lap or two.
Yeah, Kerr trying to move forward. 20 points, that penalty. Switching cars without it. Kerr still had been able to fight at the front. Who knows? There's that alternate pit lane that some in iRacing have tried to use as a joker lap. Not always recommended, if we're being totally honest. It's not always work the way you think it will. Field that is starting... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, imagine trying to do that at 300 kph.
Oh, Roy Brown around.
Roy Brown.
Second of the Team Beef cars. And now, well, he might even drop outside of the top 20, and he's going to take a big slowdown penalty for the rejoin that he's just taken. Able to do it safely, though, and indeed, Roy Brown down to 22nd position. How quickly things can change. See if we can pick up what happened to him. We pick up the aftermath of what happened to him deep into the braking zone, and he does it to himself.
Yeah, but he kind of had to do that to himself to avoid killing Floyd Kerr going to the constant triangle. Look how close it was, just braking, kind of locked it in, gone into the grass, and after the grass, you know, grass is lava here, Arjuna, and
it is.
Everything and all the rest is history.
Alex Wright, more issues after what was his best qualifying of the season, as far as I can recall. What happened to him in his Lamborghini, just pushing the limits maybe a bit too much, and balance. Oh, well, it started with the big wallop of the inside curb, and then that car was always pinching around as we got a battle for the lead. Kenny Duval down the inside of Michael Terrafino at the hairpin, and now a drag race in towards Spoon Curve, and Kenny Duval is the inside and is more than clear of the BMW. Nicely done from Kenny Duval to get the lead, and now Michael Terrafino has to watch and see if you get swarmed by the teammate as Cloud Valve Racing maybe think about a 1 and 2 here in Suzuka.
Which is totally possible, you know. Let's see how that V8 turbo from BMW is going to do against the flat six out of the Porsche. Because Terrafino, you know, he tried to defend, he tried to go for a deep line into the spoon, but because going into the curb, lost a little bit of grip, had to gone back, and that's why he lost a little bit of time. And I think Eric will just try to play a little bit safe as a Floyd Kerr now into 7th place, just going to move on Dale Peterson.
He has indeed managed to move his way forward. That BMW looks all right for the time being. Almost about 15 minutes done with this race. And after what was a very nice and clean lap 1, boy, has it picked up since then. Remember after this,
kind of like when it rains, it pours.
Remember after this, we head on over to Rudskogen for the final round of the championship, and I think for the 3rd or 4th time today. We'll just remind everyone, in a 10-round season where you can use a drop round to minimize the impact of real life or a bad race, you can't do that for the final round, Lorenzo. So again, if you want to have a bad round, you better get it done now and get it out of your system.
Absolutely, and going to a final round like Rudskogen, and where it's a highly technical track, you know, it has elevation changes just like here in Suzuka and kind of like Coda as well. There they draw parallels, but Rudskogen is kind of like has very big elevations and some very technical curves. It's gonna be an interesting one to drive. You know, I never seen GT3s being done over there. It's kind of like more Formula cars that is done in Norway. So it's gonna be a very interesting race to follow on next week and see who's gonna take out on who's gonna be on top.
We have Ryan Chandler and Sean Duhamel going side by side. This for 18th and 19th position. There is plenty of fighting up and down through the field, just not between those at the front for the time being, who are very much elected to just be smart and bide their time. As Joey Tebben likes to say, we get the blurred background for Ryan Chandler up on screen as he works his way down into 130R and sees that battle in front of him as well. Side by side, not always the wisest idea. Sully Saad and Joe McCauley try and figure this one out. But Angelo Velos is one of the first to come down pit lane as Nicholas Caranges was often in the grass on the outside of the run into the final corner.
Yeah, wondering what happened to Caranges because he's waiting for everybody to come back on track, and the number 331 is now back into the track, but I'm wondering what happened to him going to the Castle Triangle.
So Angelo Velos, where will he come out in comparison to some traffic? Has he found a pocket of clean air, or just about will emerge in front of Caranges, who is back out onto track? And now what's the strategy for the We Race Esports machine? Let's wait and let's see. Here's a look at what happened then into 130R for Caranges. Oh, mounts the inside curb, gets a tank slapper and hits the side of the car, interestingly. Slaps the left rear in, it digs in and hooks then the left front as well. But somehow I get this unnervy sense that Caranges has less damage than he should.
Just going over the cockpit, it's weird, you know, you kind of like crash around.
Steering looks straight still.
Yeah, steering looks straight, and he crashed how fast? Like 180, 200 kph?
Something, yeah, no, he was going at a rate of knots. Brian Hoskins off the track, by the way, but he's up 9 spots into 28th position. I think Caranges got very, very lucky with that one. However, he probably will not look at it like that, and I do not blame him. One iota. So Duval, Terrafino, and Luke still the top 3. Velos will have Thomas Amos in a handful of moments in terms of traffic to start to contend with, and then one by one he'll have to pick his way through. No one's diving in and trying to respond at the front of the field. To be honest, I'm not shocked, Lorenzo. I mean, we know that the expectation for most drivers is just run this car dry and then put as little fuel in as possible.
Yeah, and that's the normal flow of the car, especially if you are in like top 3. These guys marking themselves, saving as much fuel as they can possibly save. As we take a look on Eric Luke from Valve Racing and see where they're going to end up next. As I'm seeing, I think Dave Peterson coming into pit lane, so another one trying to make that anticipation of a stop. And I think for Velas, I think that was the only strategy moving forward. You know, try to anticipate and see where he's going to come out from. Maybe if the other code works for him in the final laps.
Great shot over the shoulder, riding off board on this Porsche 911. Of course, the new Porsche 911 now in the hands of customers. Michael Terrafino, is this how he lost the lead? Eric Luke with a monster run into the inside, into the hairpin. He'll have to be brave and stick it around the outside, but he knows Michael Terrafino's fighting for a championship, and enough room is given, but it should be Eric Luke that makes it a cloud valve 1 and 2, as the BMW for Michael Terrafino now slides to 3rd.
Oh, that has gotta hurt for Terrafino right there, Arjuna, because like making that honest mistake outside Dagner 2, a lot of drivers kind of make it. And he kind of tried to get a really good run, you know, just going into the inside, kind of open up in the middle, and then cut it out on the inside of the hairpin to try to get more acceleration. The car just got twitchy on the reacceleration, and it could have got that power out of the BMW to try to match up the Porsche. And unfortunately for him, now it's going to be sliding in P3, more than nearly 2 seconds away from Kenny Duval.
Yeah, the race leader had slightly broken away, but for battle pack now from 2nd as Eric Kulaga and Gary Brown continue to fight for 4th on track, albeit net what we figure is probably closer to net 5th position, factoring in Angelo Velos, who, as mentioned, is having to contend with traffic, and this is that disadvantage as Brandon 6 will go off at 130R and have a rather big incident and be stranded in the middle! And
my God.
my goodness me! Nicholas Caranges, I think, has just had another huge contact, but my days, they do not get much bigger than that.
Oh my God. And Brendan is still kind of stuck on the exit of the 130R with cars incoming. It's kind of like, what do you do in that situation, right, Arjun? It's just the worst place for you to try to rejoin the track.
It is very unfortunate, that is for sure. No matter which side that you are on. And we will see if we can try and get a replay in a few moments' time of exactly what went on here, because Caranges has taken the brunt of the impact, of course, but Brandon 6 has lost out quite significantly. Check back in with your race leader momentarily, as for your information, Brandon 6 is down on pit lane. Here's a look at the replay, and we'll see what happens. So, he's on the grass, and I think that sets him up to run wide. He's already spinning sideways, albeit slightly. And now you just watch and you wait, as Caranges, I think, was kind of expecting that Brandon 6 was just going to basically get out of the way. It was not to be.
And to be fair, I think Brendan kind of did the right thing, you know, because the one thing you cannot be in there is kind of like do the unpredictable thing and try to move either forward or backwards. Of course, you can move forward to try to help out other drivers, but behavior might catch out sometimes. Here we go, Terrafino into the pit box, Arjuna.
Michael Terrafino electing to come in with about 20 minutes of this race done. Do remember that we had a short formation lap, so by no means have these cars burnt that much fuel on their trip to start this race off. Important pit stop for Michael Terrafino as he tries to make this undercut work. Has also got to make sure he puts the right amount of fuel into the car to get to the very end of this race. So Duval now leads from Luke, Kulaga, Brown, and Floyd Kerr, who has found his way forward to 5th, albeit a handful of those positions, of course, on the strategy call here. Up through the
Look at Velas. And really quickly, Arjuna, the gap that the Terrafino has to Velas, just to see sometimes that the undercut doesn't work as he battling Thomas Amos, and Amos has to go into the pit lane. More than 5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds separates Velas and Terrafino just on the relative distance.
Sometimes it doesn't work out, like you say. Track position, I think, is half the battle there, as well, Errol Rexoy. Now, yep, exactly, spinning it around again, and finally we'll be able to get at least the rear spooled up and get some power down on the track. But yeah, I think Michael Terrafino is going to be helping them up file, and a Cloud Valve racing machine doesn't help his teammates out too much and halt the momentum of your championship leader. So it's not often that we see people end up, I think, where we saw Errol Rexoy. So let's pick this one up. Oh, he's just run very wide and just does not turn in, and, well, somehow does not hit anything whatsoever.
Which is a miracle, but I think I was going to say maybe the rejoin was going to be kind of a little bit of a dicey situation right there, Arjuna. But he kind of waited. That's a good thing.
He waited long enough. Flurry of pit stops. It's busy, busy, busy down on pit lane, as Duval, Luke, Kulaga, Brown will bring in the field. So I don't think you can get much further than this lap, although having said that, Greg Doucette in the Throttle Thursdays, number 85 BMW, will try and prove us wrong. Duval rolls at the front of the field, but really the question is with Eric Luke, where's Terrafino? And there's a simple answer: not close enough.
Not close enough. And check the Kenny Duval's pit stop here, Arjuna. 29.6. That's literally the fastest pit stop of the entire race. That is 1.5 seconds faster than Terrafino's pit stop.
Oh, Rodrigo Morales, the latest victim of 130R. Maybe Duval able to do some fuel saving as well. Like you say, shortest pit stop through the entirety of the field. Now, of course, Suzuka known, like Lorenzo mentioned at the start of the show, for its figure-8 nature and the fact that it cuts under itself. However, the initial designs were a bit more grandiose than what we have right now. They wanted several more of those cutovers. What we have is the tamed down version of Suzuka, if you will. By no means is it a tame racetrack. Yeah,
it's not tame at all. If there's one thing this track, it bites. When it bites hard, and it's grandiose because Japanese like to have grandiose things. Whenever they do things, they try to do stylishly. Thank God it's not a Tilkedrome. That's the one thing I can say, and I can say with the utmost sheer confidence. But it's one of these unique tracks. You might see a lot of overtakes, but you see intense fighting all the entire time. And that's what we want to see. That's the kind of good thing I like to see in a track like this. Stay like this, Suzuka, please, as Eric Luke goes into third place.
Yeah, he gets in front of Joe McCauley. Not much offense needed there because McCauley's going to peel off right and dive to the pit lane along with Greg Doucette. So it'll be Duval, Luke, Terrafino, the top three once more as they cycle down the main straight with just over 10 minutes left in this one. So let's see how they will play themselves out. Velos now will have to fight with Eric Kulaga. I don't think the cycle could have gone any worse if you are that We Race Esports number 19 Ferrari.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was looking over here at the time of the lane here, Arjuna. Half a second faster for the number 66 out of Kulaga, so that was a really good work. And I don't know if it was the Ferrari fuel consumption that might have been in the rear out of Angelo Velas. So let's see what the Ferrari has in store to try to reach the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini, the fixed setup here in Suzuka has been really good in terms of performance, but the Ferrari has been nimble as well. So we might really see a really good battle between two fast drivers for top 5 spots. And for Val, it's kind of like matters a little bit in the championship as well.
Here is that battle for 10th. Greg Doucette going longest of them all. Still not the shortest pit stop of them all, though. He's up 8 positions in front of Regan Chandler, who's now defending from Sully Saad, who, despite the attempts of Lorenzo Bonda to throw the curse of the commentator down on the 079, has been able to work his way forward as well. Double-digit gains. As Jad Khalife, I think, might just have become a victim of the disqualification limit, Lorenzo. That was something that you and I maybe thought might be a concern with how easy it is to pick up incidents here at Suzuka. But, sometimes commentators, turns out we do know what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, sometimes we say never trust the commentators' methods we see on the replay, but I want to believe that Khalifa might have this connection because it came out of the blue.
Oh, it did? You're right. Interesting. Well, he's disappeared for a while, so I don't think this is one of those that it's going to get better before it gets worse or anything like that. Might be the end of the day for Khalife. 40 took to the green. We're down to 34, still left and running as Sully Saad will fire it down the inside of Regan Chandler. Not much defense put up there. Regan Chandler having a good run and up in the midst of the top 10 fights. Will see himself now have to defend from Matt Scherf in that Porsche behind.
Yeah, and the 079, like you said, resisting my attempts of cursing a driver, which is kind of infamous as I'm the emperor of cursing drivers out on RaceSpotTV. As you guys can see, Regan Chandler on the bottom, the number 18 car, just trying to handle the car through the S. Is a very tricky section here, Arjun. It's kind of like it has a really technical flow, and it has so many lines that you can kind of extract the car and try to save time or lose time in here. And Regan is just trying to do his best to navigate the car through, I think, one of the trickiest, if not the trickiest session in my opinion, more than Spoon here in Suzuka.
It's all about rhythm through that section, as saw for a moment Scherf got quite close in that rear view camera that most modern GT3 cars do share. Michael Kulaga, not Eric Kulaga, Michael Kulaga finds himself well and truly off the road. Not sure exactly what's happened to him as Macaulay as well as Orexoy. Orexoy for the second time today has had an issue down at Degner 2, and he's got technical issues, so they're still trying to filter their way on through. Thomas Amos as well as Alex Wright will fly on past But another nervy moment down underneath the track there as a move down the inside. Alex Wright will fire it through on Thomas Amos.
Nice overtake from Wright. Something has to go. No, Lorenzo, continue. Something has to go right for Alex, because like had a really promising start. The touch he had with Kulaga sending him back several spots, more than 20 spots around the track. So trying to claw back the best way he can, and he's actually doing that Lamborghini, because fortunately for him it was kind of like a light contact, so you didn't get a diffuser damage that could have impaired the flow of the air into the bottom end of the Lamborghini, kind of
Eric Luke has lost a bunch of time through the S's to your race leader. That gap now up to 2.5 seconds. Not sure why. It's not like Michael Terrafino has closed in by any means. So let's cycle through a handful of these replays. It will start with what happens to Michael Kulaga. We'll loop it around by himself, and then is that poor Nicholas Karangas who once again gets involved in a bit of argy-bargy? I think it was. So now Joe McCauley in the 15. He loses it by himself first, and Orexoy this time does absolutely nothing wrong. We'll see a couple more replays. You can see that car was always spinning before he even fired it off in. And then there was this, which was the nerviest of nervy moments. You had a Mercedes go on through. Orexoy still waiting, because I think he knew the F3 box was not clear, and he gets the bump from behind. And they tell you to be predictable and to hold your brakes. I think that's exactly what Errol Orexo was trying to do there.
Yeah, he was trying to be predictable towards everybody, kind of like what Brendo 6 was doing. And but the problem is, it's kind of like you're coming out of the exit out of the corner, and the exit out of Dagger 2 is a little bit tricky. But getting that bump didn't help at all, and nearly caused a massive foul up. Instead of like 2 cars, you could have gotten 4, because that exit kind of upsets the car balance and the suspension, and could have gone so much worse.
Gary Brown lets Floyd Kerr get up his way into 6. Kerr doing what he can in terms of the championship, but I get the feeling it will be too little too late. Try and get confirmation before we get off air and at least focus on the GT3 Sprint Series in a handful of minutes' time, but this result with Terrafino in 3rd and Kerr in 6th might just be enough for the championship to be secure heading into the showdown at Rudskogen. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in this one. Gap to your leader continues to grow, and Michael Terrafino is trying to hunt down Eric Luke. But again, knowing the situation he's in, Michael Terrafino does not have to fight hard to get his way up to 2nd.
No, not at all. And I was even looking at the out of the movements out of the BMW whenever he was actually battling for 3rd spot prior to the pit stop. He didn't look aggressive at all, kind of like just maintaining his spot, not trying to do any wrong moves that can get him into wrong spot, is into the wrong end of the Stewart. So he's, I think, just kind of like bringing it home and nursing the car from start to finish, and get that W and maybe the championship at the end of the race. Dale Peterson, what happened? 1 second lost.
Dale Peterson's actually stopped out on track as his Cloud Valve Racing Ferrari now prangs the wall again down through Degno 2. An opportunity for Sully Saad to maybe pounce on Greg Doucette as they come up in towards the hairpin. This is the battle for 9th position now because of the increasing issues that we're seeing from those out on track. And Sully Saad, after struggling qualifying, is fighting his way forward. Pick up what happened here. And again, too much speed, and even though the corner is cambered in, you've got to be careful, and Plenty maybe not showing as much care and respect for that corner as they should. And it's the curb as well, that doesn't help.
Yeah, I wonder if the curbing kind of led him into the grass, and because of the braking, he kind of like dipped the grass while braking and made the car spin around.
Regan Chandler, Matt Scherf, and Dave Peterson, 11th, 12th, and 13th. As they wind towards what is going to be 2 to go for them, as your race leader, Kenny Duval, already well and truly into the S's for the penultimate time in this race. I mean, the state of GT3, Lorenzo, is that Porsche is dominant. However, Michael Terrafino continues to put up a fight, but that Porsche just looks on rails here today.
It looks planted into the track and looks really dominant. And the one thing we're probably going to see is how the other cars fare, because this is fixed setup, so you expect a a certain number will behave out of the cars. Maybe those who doesn't have a chance on open setups, maybe having a fighter's chance, like the Ferrari, the Lamborghini in the fixed setup in here has a really good performance. So I really want to see how it translates that to open. See who has that OP setup that can kind of bring the car back and be 5-4 around the track.
We'll see if Sean Campbell switches to another car to entertain us here tonight. Gary Brown still on the back of Floyd Kerr, despite the fact that he didn't fight too hard. By no means has he dropped off the back of the hardpoint by Delta Sport 68. Eric Luke, by the way, now the one that gives up some time. The battle, or rather the gap between first and second, down under 2 seconds for the first time, basically since the pit stop cycle. So give and take, as ever in traffic, is the story. And we watch Floyd Kerr and Gary Brown. We see Greg Doucette and Sully Saad, but also behind them Regan Chandler, Scherf, and Peterson. We've got some battles that will go all the way to the line.
Which is the good thing, you know, makes the interesting factor out of Suzuka, right? Because Suzuka is one of those tracks that, like I say, you might not be in constant, you might have some gaps, but you might be in constant battles because there's always something that's happening around the track. So that's why I like Suzuka most, more than some of the other tracks you find around in motorsport and even in iRacing, because there's always some kind of action you're going to be involved in. As Rasmussen now goes into P19.
Gary Brown has gotten in front, though, of Floyd Kerr. Not sure exactly when this happened. They are on the final lap of the race, and time is winding down. 1.5 between first and second, then 1.5 between second and third. It's stretched out on the podium. No real signs that it's going to switch around. Matt Scherf in front of Regan Chandler and Dave Peterson. Doucette in front of Baron Glover, whose Audi has got, I think, some significant damage, or maybe a significant lack of fuel, because he is going very, very slowly and trying to nurse his car around and stay inside of the top 10 positions. Floyd Kerr pushes his way all the way off the track, and in trying to fight for 6th, Floyd Kerr has pushed it off the road.
No, that is really unfortunate for the Delta Sport driver. Hard point by Delta Sport, and luckily for him, he doesn't lose a spot, but he's basically going to be all without any condition whatsoever. It's Matt Scherf.
And Michael Terrafino made a mistake through Spoon Curve. Not the first time, or rather the first time that we've seen that recently out of him. However, it's going to be somewhat academic at the end of the day as we watch back at the front of the field. It's been an up and down season for Kenny Duval. I mean, more bad luck than good, but he's shown his pace as of late. Only one top 5 on the season, and now finally a victory. It's a Cloud Valve Racing 1 and 2, and a photo finish and a memory to share. Duval and Luke, a 1 and 2 here at Suzuka, with Michael Terrafino bringing up the rest of the podium spots. Eric Kulaga and then Angelo Velos will drag their way to the line as Greg Doucette and Sully Saad fight for 8th and 9th positions. But Lorenzo, a crazy race here at Suzuka to kick off the night.
Absolutely. Very quiet start. We thought, oh, this is going to be quite quiet, Arjuna. You know, we're going to have all the 40 cars. No, after lap 1, everything kicked off like any anime, any fighting anime, and everything again went crazy from lap 2 all the way down to the end. And interesting to see those lead battles and the strategies.
Baron Glover, still trying to roll his way to the line.
Yeah. Started
this lap in like 5th or 6th position. Will end it down in 20th at the end. We do like it when drivers try stuff on fuel. It does not always pay out, though. That is the reality of racing. Another hectic night, and you say you want to see how the balance of the cars shifts as we move forward to the open setup GT3 Sprint Series. I think the one thing I want to see is how crazy is lap number 1 going to be with those drivers?
It's going to be, I think, more intense because you get the open setup, you get more aggression out of the drivers. I think the pros are going to come out on top. They're going to come in swinging because there's the risk of Trepanier not doing this round, so it kind of opens up for Morales, Campbell, and Dickinson and Green to try to come up and get some points and steal those points. So it's going to be a very, very interesting race for us to cover in the open setups.
Talk about that in a handful of moments' time. Hopefully we get to chat to some of the drivers as well. Here's a look at the race results after the 18 laps. Cloud Valve 1 and 2 in the south camp for Duval and Luke getting their way 1 and 2. Michael Terrafino a mistake on the final lap, but he is still able to secure a spot on the podium. Behind him, Eric Kulaga being able to fend off the challenge of Velos, who was running up there in the top 4, but unfortunately did make an early pit stop that did not play out in his favor. Gary Brown, Floyd Kerr, Greg Doucette, Sully Sard, and then Matt Scherf round out the top 10. Sully Sard gaining 13 positions to fight his way forward to 9th. Regan Chandler, one of his best finishes of the season, in front of Dave Peterson and then Mark File, Roy Brown, Nick Silver, Sean Duhamel, Dale Peterson. 21 positions gained for Andrew Rasmussen in front of Ryan Chandler, and then Baron Glover, running out of fuel on the final lap and dropping from the top 10 to 20th. Alex Wright in 21st with Thomas Amos, and then Matt Dinsmore 22nd, 23rd, in front of Jeff Fleischman, who started from pit lane, Glenn Vanko, Michael Kulaga, Brian Hoskins, Jeff Costello, Juan Uturbe, and then Nicholas Carandis had not one, not two, but a handful of moments out on track in that Throttle Thursdays 331. Ryan Luna 1 lap down, and then Joe McCauley and Morales along with Orexoid 4 laps adrift from your leader. Khalife 6, Carollo, Benatti, Oranga, and then McLean. Just a handful of the names to experience some troubles here today. So look top to bottom at your race results, and let's bring in Kenny Duval, who's standing by to chat with Lorenzo Bonder.
So, Kenny, well, first and foremost, congratulations on that win. Well, kind of a long time coming, isn't it? You know, you had your dues, you had your bad streak of luck, but here, man, talk about this race.
That is actually the inaugural PRL win for me. I have not won in PRL before. We've had a couple of top 5s and plenty of top 10s, but never on the top step of the podium. So I am completely thrilled with that.
Well, first win is always a sweet, especially in leagues. And, man, Suzuka, one of the hardest tracks of the season. Man, and you had a really good pace, like matching Terrafino. What was the plan going into this race?
You know, with as dismal a season as it's been in some of the other races, you know, obviously we're not in the hunt for the championship, but my teammate was here tonight and we wanted to run as well as we could. We're kind of assuming that, you know, while we were pressuring Terrafino a little bit, he's looking back to Kerr and the others that are fighting with him and going, I don't really have to beat these guys. I just have to beat my competitors. So we might have been given a little bit of gift there, but I'll take it. It was a good run.
Absolutely. And now moving into Rutsk again, the final round. Kenny, thoughts about the track?
This will be interesting. I don't think anybody's run it because it's new. I certainly haven't run it before, so I got a lot to learn. So there'll be some extra practice this week. But till I turn some laps on it, I just don't know if it's going to be a track that suits me or not. Well,
we'll see next week, Kenny. Well, again, congratulations on your maiden victory here at PRL. Take a break, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks to Cloud Valve. Thanks to my teammate for running a good race. Congrats on his second place, and we'll try to do it again next week.
Speaking of his teammate, Kenny Duval, on top of the podium, but second set went to Eric Luke, who's standing by with our one and only Lorenzo Bonder.
All right, here we go. Eric, congratulations at P2, making Cloud Racing 1 and 2. And Kenny was talking about you guys having a really good race and matching Terrafino. For you, was that really the plan, or you guys really want to be aggressive out of the gate?
It all depends on how the race unfolds. Generally at the start of a track like Suzuka, where you have a chaotic turn 1, you kind of see how things pan out, and it just happened to pan out that the 4 of us broke free from the rest of the pack pretty much right out the gate. So that allowed a little more aggression to take into play, but you also have to consider the pit stop cycle and everything else. So while you want to be aggressive, you also have to manage your tires, manage fuel, the whole 9 yards.
Perfect. And to take you now into Rutsk again, final round of the season, you get some good points, maybe getting to the top 30. what is the goal with in the Norwegian track?
The goal, honestly, it's been a hectic season for me. I've missed most of the races due to work, so the goal for next week is to have a schedule that allows me to race.
Perfect. I think that's a really good mindset moving forward. Eric, man, enjoy that P2. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's see if we can get a schedule going. And see you next week at Rusk again.
Sounds good. Thanks, gentlemen.
So great to chat to the 1 and 2. And now we look forward, Lorenzo. Like you said, Rudskogen up next when it comes to this championship. And of course, it's the same series schedule when it comes to the GT3 Sprint Series as well. Here's a look at that one. And so in 7 days' time, we will round out this season and then head into the month, the end of November and the Thanksgiving holiday period, ready to celebrate what was another fantastic season of racing.
Absolutely, and just to also recap, signups are open for Season 1 of 2023, right? So it's just around the corner, but going to this Norwegian track, highly technical. There are some very tricky curves for you to go, and the elevation changes and the braking zones is going to make it very tricky. It's going to have some overtaking spots. Should prove a very, very compelling race, I think, especially on the fuel side, because it's going to be a little bit of higher consumption than Suzuka, of course, but can be very truncated depending on the circumstances.
So talk rather about the championship standings in this GT3 Sprint Series. Unlike in the Fixed Series, we have 2 classes. We break the drivers up into Pro and into Am, and in the Pro, like Lorenzo mentioned, questions as to whether Vincent Trepanier will be racing here tonight. It allows the opportunity for potentially Diego Morales to close in. Sean Campbell has switched cars not once but twice this season, so we do not expect him to be in the fight for the championship regardless of what happens on track over the next handful of weeks. However, he is going to be fighting with Sean Dickinson in the SimCity Racing BMW. Mitchell in green 3 points back as well, so plenty to fight for over the next, well, about 80 minutes of racing that these drivers have got in front of them.
And more importantly, we have to expect what Sean has in his webcam as well, right? Because he's always like to try to show something new into his webcam, and it's gonna be an interesting race. Open setups normally tend, to have a better performance in the BMW, but I saw in some of the splits that the Lamborghini and the BMW can ball, so it's gonna be a race where we might see Porsche guys in the Porsche having some trouble with maybe tire consumption as the stints go by, and guys in the BMW and in Lamborghini maybe compensating for that.
So that's a look at the Pro class standings. Let's talk about the Am standings then very quickly as well. And here, well, Miguel Angel Fonseca in his Audi is starting to break away from Rob Campbell and then Alec Bergstrom with Blake ZT in 4th. However, again, remember, Am drivers share the track with the pros while scoring points separately. So they have their own race within the race. Fonseca's taken 3 wins in the 8 rounds so far. And again, consistency, Lorenzo, is what will continue to carry him forward to a potential championship.
Absolutely, and we saw that this championship at the very start of the season could have gone either way. For example, for Rob Campbell, Bergstrom, Fonseca, also Ziti was kind of like in the fray as well. So now Fonseca kind of like proved that consistency is always key, and now you're going to track that for some of these AM drivers, they're going to be in a world of trouble because they might be in the middle of the pack, and that's where the trouble can kind of start in lap 1 and then moving forward. So those who are in the need of points, especially within that top 5 battle, maybe top 3 as well, could make some big gains and big losses here.
A look through at your team championship, split up by Pro and Am, but if we talk about pros, the reality is it's Unit Simsport fighting as a unit of 3 against teams of 2 in the forms of SimCity Racing and RSR by Buttkicker, and therefore they have built up a over 50-point advantage. SimCity versus RSR will be the one to watch as we move our way forward in the Am class. It's Lunatic Moonlight Speed Racing that have the healthy advantage over Hardpoint by Delta Sport Academy and the Long Island Racing team as they work themselves in this Am class category. Lorenzo, learnings then as the drivers in this GT3 Sprint Series go for their qualifying session. We talked about the importance of this earlier on tonight. How important is it going to be for the drivers heading to track right now?
Well, I think it's going to be more key, especially in terms of track positions. You know, I think that P1 and P2 is it's kind of like the golden ticket for you to have a good race. And even then, maybe top 10, you can kind of fight and be okay with it. But the one thing you really don't want to be is kind of like top between the P21 and P35, because that's where the chaos number is. And if you're battling, like I said, in the AM standings and even kind of like pro, it's going to be a little tricky for you to try to navigate in a track like this. So if you already had your drop points in previous rounds, you got to make it up over here no matter what.
We will, of course, separate them out in qualifying on the left so we can kind of figure out what the times are going to be across those two categories. In that first session of qualifying tonight, we did see that times got faster over the course of the session. Let's take a look at the weather conditions. Clear skies in the air and cool track temperatures. The only thing that makes it maybe not perfect conditions for racing, Lorenzo, those 15-mile-an-hour gusts of wind that will be blowing around the track.
And the one thing you really don't want to have is like a gust of wind going to 130R, right, Arjuna? And make the car unstable, and it's kind of like your traditional Japanese summer going into autumn track. So it's tricky, you know. It's just one of the worst. So it's kind of like learn how to navigate, and good luck, because those gusts of winds can catch you in the wrong spot. It's race over immediately.
7 minutes and 20 seconds left in this part of qualifying, and of course we've looked through the championship standings, we've talked about the schedule. Let's not forget that the schedule, Lorenzo, based on the official iRacing schedules for the GT3 Sprint Series. So drivers get the opportunity not just to do their practice in private, but they get a week basically of official racing to get ready for these PRL events.
Yeah, so they had the entirety of last week to try to prepare for Suzuka, and it's a track that you can both not only do in the fixed but also in the open series. Now this week is Ruskogan, so you get the preparation now moving to next week, so you already try to get your setup to the peak performance. And it's still early in the week. We're on Wednesday right now, Tuesday in America, but it's still a lot of time for you to try to have that perfect setup whenever we go into next week. But for Suzuka, you had your preparations, you have your strategy, so it's going to be an interesting one to try to discuss in the next few minutes.
Well, one thing we learned without a shadow of a doubt is stay out as long as possible. Do not try and undercut.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We found that the hard way, I think, for Velosa. But then again, I think because you have the disparity of maybe, I'm not gonna say disparity, but I think the potential of having drivers with more use with endurance races, because we just had the 10 hours, right? We had 10 hours. You commentated on iRacing, so it makes those strategies, I think, more sound on how you try to navigate towards the track, as we have the first laps in around the track.
Yeah, we'll get those up in a few moments' time. We were wondering if Vincent Trepigny was going to show up. He has shown up, so maybe he was trying to fake out some of the drivers, albeit slightly smaller field than what we had.
Sean.
Slightly smaller field than what we had with the GT3 Fix Series as well. We had, 40 drivers take to the green. We'll have maybe around 30 or so here. Pro pole, 157.650. Trepigny provisionally with about 200ths then further back to Sean Campbell in second. Nathan Deering has pole in AM with a 159.069. That would line him up in eighth, but we still do have a handful of pros yet to throw their times onto the board.
Yeah, looking here, we have Alex Caruso, Mitchell Ian Green, Nick McLaughlin, Diego Morales, and Aldo Sacklin to try to get their laps around the track. And let's see how some of those drivers will fare around the track.
We were saying, by the way, that we wonder what car Sean Campbell is going to elect to pick. Lorenzo Bonder has noticed what Sean Campbell is racing, and it's well, it's a car that's older than both of us here in the commentary booth put together. It's the venerable old Ford GT3, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know why Sean is doing this to himself.
I love seeing the Ford GT3, the Matek one, but then again, it's like I'm frowning my head right now. I think I'm just like you, Arjuna. I'm just frowning my head. Oh no!
His camera's decided it wants to fall off as well. Oh, we're getting some great camera shots right here. The joys of live broadcasting. Sean Campbell still trying to figure this one out with all of his office chairs in the background, by the way. Count them. You've got 1, 2, and 3, and he says there's a handful more as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Sean, we were expecting to see something out of Sean. He delivered.
I'm trying to figure out how he was able to go 1/4 of a tenth of a second off the pole in this slow thing. With all due respect, like we said, it is an old car. What I think we have to do now, though, Lorenzo, is to ride around for a lap with Sean Campbell in this car as he continues to try and fix his webcam. He drove off the track. He's been so focused. Oh, shrugs the shoulders. It's fine.
He even hit a wall trying to set up the camera.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Here we go, Arjuna.
Here we go. A lap on board with Sean Campbell in, is it the best or the worst GT3 car in the world? You tell me. Let's find out. Across the line and getting started here. It's a long run downhill, slightly into turn 1. How much will he brake in the initial part to bleed off some speed? Carries the momentum forward, and then, of course, sweep through the second part of the opening corner and head in towards the S's. Set up on the right side, and now it's all about momentum conservation. How much forward momentum will you give for sideways momentum as you try and turn the car? Sean Campbell really hustling the forward around. And now maybe the most important corner of them all, the one that comes up here. Out of Dunlop and sweeping into the Degners. A nice tidy run so far as the car bounces around. You will notice that with the Ford. Campbell going to have to be very careful with the curbs in a way that even those that spun themselves around in the curbs in the fixed series would not have to worry about. Into that hairpin where the moves are going to come. Finding that braking zone on the right, and even though the back end steps out on him, Sean Campbell able to slither it back into a forward direction. About 90 seconds ago in qualifying, drivers have either started their final lap or are on to their final lap and getting ready to finish it potentially. Spoon curve, how much momentum can Sean carry through? He doesn't look like he's driving a 4GT, I'm just trying to say. This looks more like it's a Porsche 911. Blake Ziti to second in AM as Trepanier is done for qualifying. I can't tell if Campbell's happy or not with this, but into 130R he'll go. Morales into 5th, Crisp to the top in qualifying provisionally. It's a 1:57.632 with half a tenth of a second splitting the top 3 times. Does Sean Campbell have anything to say though about it? Let's find out as he powers to the line and looks for the drag. He does it! It's a 1:57.538 and the Ford is on top.
Oh, Arjuna, something is wrong with me. Why am I celebrating a Ford GT3 on top of the standings?
You say something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with that guy that continues to drive all these weird cars. Miguel Angel Fonseca, by the way, in your AM category, has gone to pole position. He'll start 8th overall as it runs right now with 22 seconds left to go in this qualifying session. There aren't many drivers left with times to improve on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look in potential stealers here, but can't see many.
It's Fonseca that will finish up in qualifying. Well, Sean Campbell is here to entertain. Have no doubt about that one. And as qualifying draws to a close, it's time to go for the second part of the GT3 doubleheader here on RaceSpotTV. The fixed series has had its fun. The drivers in the GT3 Sprint Series now ready to get underway for 40 minutes here at Suzuka to head into that season showdown at the very final end of this year. It is an RSR by butt kicker Ford that is on the pole, and it feels weird to say that. Martin Crisp alongside in the SimCity Racing Porsche 911 with the championship leader Vincent Trepanier alongside Sean Dickinson in the SimCity Racing BMW. Diego Morales in 5th behind his main championship rival, with Ted Lowendick on the outside of row 3. Ryan Patrick will steal the GT3 AM pole position at the death with his Lunatic Moonlight Speed Racing number 18. Kevin Norris 8th with Miguel Angel Fonseca in 9th with Arnaud Genet for company. Blake Ziti and Alec Bergstrom just missed out on the top 10 with Nathan Deering and Ryan Pucktel row 7. Rob Campbell and Darren Rutherford 15th and 16th with Colin McKenzie and Brett Thurman 17th and 18th. Bookending the top 20, Caleb Lehman and Turner Schroll with Vincent Sepulveda and Nick McLaughlin. Some work to do with plenty of AM machines in front of them. Sean Carmody and then Marc-Andre Deschardins on row number 12 with David Van Roy, Pete Newhook, David Morse, Aldo Secklin, Mitchell Ian Green, and then Alex Caruso through 30 cars. Mark Halen, after a bit of a torrid run last time out, looking to have a bit more success from the back end of the field. I'd ask for expectations here, Lorenzo, but I think the reality is chaos is one, and then a lot of unknowns with Sean Campbell at the front in that Ford.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like Sean kind of broke me as a commentator right now. I never expected to see a Ford GT up in the top, dominating the Porsches. That proves that the Ford is still the best car in iRacing. Prove me otherwise.
I'm pretty sure Ethan Bass has stayed up specifically to watch this just so that he can cheer along the Ford. Cars begin to roll then. Remember, AMs and Pros mixed up in terms of their overall grid positions. They fight for points separately and within their classes. So Ford, Porsche, Porsche, BMW, Porsche, Porsche. Can Sean Campbell survive the Ford? I think that's the question really, isn't it, Lorenzo?
The question is how many laps of pain he's going to have until he goes into the pit lane. Here we go.
How much will his car bounce around in Pogo as well? We're ready to go, though, with 40 minutes on the clock. Sean Campbell controls the field and holds them longer than they did earlier tonight. We are racing, though, once more at Suzuka, and a great start from the Unit Sim Sport teammate as they try and coordinate and maybe jump Martin Crisp on the run into turn number 1. Crisp, though, will be able to fight off their advances. He'll hold second, Trepanier and Dickinson third and fourth, but single file into the S's, they will begin to form up, as now once again the field with a clean start at the opening sector of the lap.
Let's try to go on Lowendick on lap number 1, and Sean Dickinson was trying to make the move on the outside on Trepanier, but nearly clipped the grass on the entry of turn number 1. Nearly outbroke himself, but managed to go back into the track, kind of have a little bit of a wiggle. Still safe with Blake Ziti now.
Big drama now. Blake Ziti, yes, is involved, but is anyone else, as we see cars cutting down below the surface of the track. It's too wide with Ryan Patrick and Miguel Angel Fonseca fighting on what is now the AM class lead, as Fonseca deep into the braking zone, able to slow it down in time, but now Arnaud Genet will try and maybe slide his way on through. Ryan Pucktel, Blake Ziti, the two major cars involved in that one. Somehow, though, they cycle on through.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that Audi is going to perform around the track like this. I haven't seen the performance out of the Audi in Suzuka, and I cannot extract how aerodynamically and performance out of the V10 is going to have on the German brand.
Coming to the end of the opening lap. Separation forming from 7th to 6th positions with Diego Morales at the end of the choo-choo train at the front. But it is the Ford that trains them around. Crisp, Trepanier, Dickinson, Lowendick, the rest of the top 5. 1 second already the advantage at the line as Sean Campbell tries to run away with the lead.
And he looks chill.
Doesn't look like he's driving a Ford.
Yeah, I want that setup. I'll pay for that setup.
Yeah, I'm just saying that definitely sounds like a setup that is worth trying out. Back here with Vincent Trepanier. Let's not forget that we have the wonderful dual angles out of Arnaud Genet. Here's one of those angles as he rides through the S's. But let's not forget the other one as we actually take a look at the 312 as he powers up the hill.
And Miguel holding him kind of like honest around the track. So that's good to see that Audi planted and with some speed in comparison to the 312.
And you can see they're all stacked up behind Caven Norris for the time being. Although Norris has closed the gap to those in front, so the choo-choo train now forms all the way through, basically, as you see this great aerial shot of the cars. Again, remember, there is expected, I should say, to be a pit stop. Expectation very much that you want to stay out on track for as long as feasibly possible. You're wondering how the Audi's going to do. This generation of Audi, of course, known for maybe being a little bit more vicious, but Miguel trying to channel the energies of a certain other manufacturer potentially as he works his way through 130R.
Leaning soundly for him as trying to battle for against Ryan Patrick, and not far behind, about I would say 3-4 seconds behind is Rob Campbell, which is also fighting for the AAM championship, but that gap is still safe enough for Fonseca to try to have go with a really good gap into Rudskogen for the final round and clinch the championship.
Yeah, the problem is the lack of googly eyes. Everyone knows that googly eyes on VR headsets add at least...
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, add at least 0.3 of a second per lap, at the very least.
Don't forget the race spot, also sticker.
Yes, that too. That's on the side of your car, though. That's not on the googly eyes. That is for sure. Ted Lowendick is always one that has an interesting background on his car. On a Zoom, rather, I should say. Today's no different. 130R, matey!
With a Gojira picture on the background as well. I approve.
Look to the inside by Morales, who may be feeling expectations in the championship fights. His main rival, of course, runs in third. And now a look maybe in towards the hairpin. A great run, and Lowendick knows he's fighting with a championship contender and lets the We Race Esports Porsche slide on through.
Yeah, it's a smart move from Lowendick right there. And Morales, like I said before, was kind of aggressive out of the gate coming into turn number 1 on lap 1. Just couldn't capitalize on making the move because there was so much confusion up ahead of him. I think Morales kind of like set the back foot into the pedal and just decided to go into the snaking and single file out of the cars and just wait for the perfect move to go into the top 5.
So let's spool back to the start of the race then, and let's see what happens here. Oh, Blake Ziti loses it by himself, then bounces back into track, and from there, well, it was always going to be a bit of bumper cars, wasn't it?
That's all. Oh, did he clip the grass on the exit? Looks like it, doesn't it? From the aerial angle.
And that was Ryan Pucktel that had the big contact with him. Those were the two that took the immediate damage and have slid to the back of the field. Now, Lowendick has lost out to Morales, of course, but you can see the gap that has opened up as well, potentially in front to Sean Campbell. 1.3 seconds at the line as we have now 3 laps officially in the books. Caleb Lehman pointed in the wrong direction out of the final corner. I'll be honest, I have no idea how that even happens.
Yeah, I want to look on the replay to see what happened on that incident.
So here we'll go. See Pete Newhook in that patchwork car behind. Oh, Pete Newhook rather the one that sees it. So where's Caleb Lehman? How does... Oh, okay. So a bit of a messy situation, and now let's try and pick this one apart. I'll be honest, I don't really know what to say.
Same as well. I need to look from maybe September.
Racing incident is like my first indication because there's just so much going on.
There's so much going on. There's a little bit of a pinching in going outside of the corner for the track. Oh, and then unfortunately chaos.
Oh, we got Marc-Andre Desjardins, Pete Newhook, and David Morse involved in this one. That hairpin very much is a trouble spot. Trouble down the field, though. No trouble up front. Talk us through this one, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I was looking at this. Alex Caruso going to the inside, going to prepare for that move, but saw that it was closed down quickly. But he was just committed. Unfortunately, caused the contact and then this pile up of cars.
Bit of bumper cars being played, that is for sure. Gap at the front has come down very slightly. 1 second between Campbell and Crisp. Trepanier being towed along, and then a bit of separation and daylight to the one and only Sean Dickinson fighting with Diego Morales now. About 10 minutes done in this race, of course, with 31 and a bit left to go. I think Ethan Bass has probably provided Sean Campbell with a magic dock here, because, yeah, that Ford does not look human right now.
It doesn't. I'm still frowning my head how that Ford is planted, because of all Fords like setups I've tested, it bounces like a pogo stick, doesn't break. The brake kind of like the ABS, whenever it kicks in, it wants to kill you. The traction control likes he wants to send you into a Narnia or something like that. So it's tricky, as I'm seeing. I think I saw Arnaud Genet having a little bit of a problem, lost about a second and a half and got overtaken by Alex Bergstrom.
And we got another car that's gone around up through in towards the Degners. This time it is Colin McKenzie, who is fortunately still trying to find his way to rejoin in a safe and effective manner, which I'm sure everyone will truly appreciate. But I think once again this is going to be self-afflicted, and maybe like with Blake Ziti, it's onto the grass. There's just the edge of the curb as well, and he gets very unlucky by where he actually hits the wall, because of where that tire barrier is. It could have been a lot less dramatic.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of like the tire barrier just makes him go about a full 360 and put him into a very, very bad angle. I think I've seen more troubles with Vicente Sepulveda as well around Spoon.
Yes, he is further down through the field. We'll see if we can pick that one up later. Front of the field, 3-car breakaway though, like as we mentioned. Morales trying to fire his way through on Dickinson, but he's going to be unable to do so, and Lowendick had an opportunity to maybe take advantage, but doesn't overcommit and force the issue. 3-car fight now for 4th position, with Kevin Norris 1.5 seconds back, and he has got the AM-class contenders in tow behind him. Ryan Patrick, Fonseca, and then Bergstrom all queued up in line.
Yeah, and also Genet not far behind, kind of like as a sniper if anything goes south between them. So it's going to be an interesting one now moving forward, this battle for P4, and how aggressive Morales is going to be out of the gate trying to make that overtake and get the position out of the 64, and if he's going to make this messy or not.
Catch up with what happened to Vicente Sepulveda, and it's going to be the AstroTurf. We mentioned it's infamous, or rather infamy, for moments like that, and I think we're going to get a bit of deja vu with Sean Carmody in his Porsche as pushes wide, and it's not even that much of the AstroTurf, but it's just the grip differential which loops the car around, and it's definitely not the last time that we're going to see that.
Yeah, but then again, to add more assault and injury to Carmody, he actually had an issue right out of the S's as well. So that made the situation just worse for him. As we're just seeing like in the front of the frame as Morales tried to go for the overtake here, Arjuna, and just couldn't get the opening on Sean Dickinson.
Kevin Norris has had an issue down through Spoon Curve. He will find an opportunity to rejoin on his own, but yes, so many cars just pushing the limits here. And again, we'll talk about weather. I just wonder if that wind plays a factor as well. The track temperatures have also heated up, albeit slightly since the last time we talked about this. But gusts of wind, Lorenzo, even though GT3 cars are fairly big, by no means are they light and nimble in the way that some may think they are. They will get blown around. Rather, they are light and nimble. They will get blown around, and that's why it's such a big dramatic factor. Dickinson may lose not one but two. Morales gets on through, and Lowendick will cover him off as well. The RSR by butt kicker number 72 tries to get the move into 4th, but into line he'll have to file, and making a slight mistake. Dickinson trying to take advantage.
Lowendick with the smart move of trying to go back, but try to go for a little bit of a fight as well here. Jenna thought he could get the up and under of sorts into the S's, but Dickinson covered up the move just as he went into the transition of the first leg to the second leg.
They fought hard, and all it did really was let Morales get 4th, and the gap to the leaders grow even further. take a look at the track map to see just how separated they are across the field as your leaders work through the hairpin and build to the second half of the lap. We started with 29, we're down to 25 out on the track. See how many will end up reaching the checkered flag. The Ford is holding on, but by no means is Sean Campbell running away with this one. Trepanier and Crisp are keeping your leader honest.
Yeah, I was looking at the gap, the lap gap between the drivers. Like, Crisp just started to push the car a little bit more, making more consistent laps in the 59.1, whereas Campbell 59.2 and 59.4 within the last 2 laps. So that consistent loss of time is making the life out of the Ford GT a little bit more problematic against 2 Porsches. I wonder how much grip he has in that car in comparison to the Porsches, if he's pushed the car enough. But looking at his demeanor, he doesn't look phased at all.
He's having a conversation while driving, so he does not look fussed at 1 iota, I think, is the reality right now. So Morales able to extend that advantage to Dickinson, and now maybe trying to see if he can close on Trepanier in towards the pit stop cycle. Slow and Dick next up to attack the back of that BMW for SimCity Racing. And Patrick, Fonseca, and Bergstrom, all 1, 2, and 3 in AM. Genet then splitting them from the rest of the AM competitors. Not expecting any pit stops at any points so far. Ethan Bass saying he's had to drive the Ford, or says he's driven the Ford since 2021, Season 1. So we're going on now a good 2 full years of Ethan driving this car. I don't know why he does it to himself, Lorenzo, to be completely honest.
Who, Sean?
No, Ethan.
Oh, Ethan.
It must be crazy to drive the Ford that much.
Don't ask me, man. There are things about life that I don't have an explanation, and this is actually one of the things I really don't have an explanation. Just go with the flow.
We're just teasing, of course. But Ethan, someone you can also see racing that Ford, I think, in the HyperX GT3 Sprint Series on Sundays here on RaceSpotTV. So if you want your Fords, you don't have to wait until maybe iRacing adds a new one to be able to see them. And of course, let's not forget the official esports team of Ford, Team Fordzilla, spends more time not driving Fords than driving Fords. So, which is always funny. It always makes me laugh. And of course, we had that classic paint in the Esports Racing World Cup when they had to drive a non-Ford V8 supercar, and so they just showed up with a white paint and a Ford slapped on the side of it. It was it was as perfect and as amusing as you can imagine. One more lap about to be complete, though. I want to see the lap time for Campbell versus Morales to see if there's any chance for the We Race Esports number 22 to be able to close if he's able to just punch in lap times for the next 24 minutes. So 59.479 for your race leader, a 59.046 for Diego Morales. So almost half a second gained for the We Race Esports Porsche 911.
I wonder how much fuel he's burning, though, in comparison to Trepanier and Crisp, right? So that's the thing we have to be talking about, you know. Just because you have that clean air, you think you might be in a pocket of safety. It doesn't mean like that, but he's pushing that car, so the gap is kind of fluctuating. And look at the steering work of Trepanier, just trying to keep that car on track. That is really good steering work.
Keeping it smooth where possible. As we near the halfway marker, one more lap or so and we'll hit it in this 40-minute race. Vicente Sepulveda becomes the first to dive onto pit lane. Spends 11.3 seconds there. And finds himself back out on track and with some clean air to work with now as well. Great I really do enjoy this camera shot. You see the inputs of the car, but you also get a great sense for the track undulation as well. So much character here at Suzuka. Of course, so much history around the track itself as well. Now you'll notice these three, Lorenzo, are able to use a bit more of that AstroTurf without any sort of issues, but one wonders, will they find issues the more they try and run up close to the fire, as it were?
So basically what you're saying is that if any of them spin, it's not the Lorenzo Bonder curse of the commentator, it's going to be the Arjuna Kankipati.
Sure, why not?
Blame Arjuna. Okay, fair. I'll take the. I'll abstain from the blame out of this one.
Don't forget, by the way, if you're watching on the VCO Esports Twitch channel, that's the final round of the IMSA Esports Michelin Global Championship this coming Sunday. Green flag will drop at around 2 p.m. Eastern with the pre-race show and the festivities starting about 20 minutes before. So join us on the VCO Esports channels and on the iRacing Esports Network from the World Center of Racing for the final bit of IMSA competition before they head back to Daytona at the start of 2023. David Norris, by the way, starting to work his way back forward, has gotten in front of Turner Schroll, an AM-class competitor. We watch as Arnaud Genet piles on the pressure to Alec Bergstrom, running third in AM, albeit slightly off the back of Fonseca and Patrick, 1 second up the road.
Even though it kind of the lap gap between them, it's very close. Like Patrick 59.7, Fonseca 59.8, and Bergstrom 59.9. So they're doing very similar laps. So there's no big fluctuation of the relative gap between them. So that's really good to see. You know, Bergstrom keeping them honest and make sure they don't break away as much as they want. So he has the possibility of the draft.
Genet says, I don't want to waste any more time. Sends it down the inside and slides his way back up into 9th. And maybe good for Bergstrom. Maybe if he can follow Genet forward, there's an opportunity to fight for first and second in his class, because at least as it runs right now, it's going to be between Patrick as well as Fonseca as they continue to ride around behind Dickinson and Lowendick. Dickinson struggling a little bit more than I think he would have expected. He did a 1:59.7 last time by, Lorenzo. Morales did a 1:58.9 last time by, to put that into context.
Which is mind-boggling to think that gap might actually come down below the 3 seconds for Morales whenever he goes into the line, because he's pushing that car to the very limit out of it. So as we see Lowendick throwing a point of view behind Dickinson, I wouldn't be surprised if Lowendick stays safe for now, doesn't make the moves, try to conserve fuel, and then play the safe game out of the fuel, and then be aggressive out of the gates.
It's not an easy pit entry here by any means, so keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. One of the trickiest, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and the main thing is just you, as ever, do not want to be behind someone when you enter into pit lane, and by the same token, you'd rather not have someone behind you as you focus on your braking spot and making it in as effectively as possible. Morales is bringing that gap down, by the way, lap on lap. Question is, does he have enough time with half the race done, 19 minutes still left to play, and of course 1 pit stop still expected? We did see drivers head in with a sprint series race with about 10 to 15 minutes to go. Of course, those drivers had a slightly shorter race, but they also had a slightly shorter fuel tank, so I would not be shocked if the fuel window for this race, Lorenzo, ends up being with 15 minutes of the race to go until about 10 minutes of the race to go, when we expect the drivers to head to pit lane.
Roughly maybe 12 minutes at best if you manage to conserve your fuel. I think the problem for Morales is one thing, you know, he's doing really fast flying laps, kind of like qualifying Arjuna, but there's a problem. This is probably one of the worst tracks in terms of tire rate, wear rate. So it burns your tires like crazy, because it is one of the few clockwise circuits you have in the whole world. So it burns up your right-hand tires instead of your left-hand tires. So it's going to be a tricky one, maybe coming down to the final laps if he reaches them. How badly Morales can be in comparison to Trepanier, Chris McKimple.
Check in with your race leaders as they cross the line once more. Lap time for Campbell a 59.455. Lap time for Morales this time of 59.1. So he is giving up slightly the pace, but by no means is it majorly. Nick McLaughlin trying to fight his way forward through the AM field. He's got Turner Schroll for company as they dive their way down out of the final quarter. Take a look on board with McLaughlin in the number 37 as he has the triple screen ultra curved monitors wrapping around him. You'll get this. You can just about see the hardpoint by Delta Sport car slide down that right-hand side in that monitor, and well, it's not Turner Schroll on screen, excuse me. That is Nick McLaughlin, but you can kind of see the sigh of resignation from McLaughlin as he realized, well, I guess I didn't get it done.
Yeah, but also that was a really good bait from Turner coming into the corner. Kind of like you think you, because he breaks early, kind of like he's giving the position, but McLaughlin I think just got caught off guard, going into the entry, overshot the braking zone because he was thinking to the outside, didn't even get into the apex properly, and then Schroed just baited and got the position back to 16.
Alex Caruso's had some contact up into this hairpin before, but he's in the fight as well, behind the Lunatic Racing machine. As always, just checks up through that little hairpin, as we dubbed it on RaceSpotTV last year or the year before. I forget which one it was, the Kobayashi hairpin. And I
think that was last year.
Yeah, time flies. I'm at the point where I'm just like, it happened. That's what I remember. As the extent of my memory as well. At a spoon they'll come. And it's, of course, a fight for 16th position. Caven Norris has been able to separate himself a little bit from this one. Back up front, Morales last time with a 58.8 found another handful of tenths and does it once again, finds another 0.4 of a second. The gap down to 3.2, and as we enter the pit stop cycle, a good execution on pit lane could be enough for Morales to close in this battle for the lead.
Oh yeah, he's going to be key for Morales if he really wants to have any hopes of staying within the contact. He has to, in my opinion, Arjuna, he needs at least 2.3 to 2.4 seconds in terms of a gap to Trepanier, so he can actually have a fighting chance and then start pushing the car more and more and more, and see how it's going to work out, as I'm seeing New Hook into the pit lane to do his pit service.
Yep, so the first indication that maybe the pit lane sequence will start. About 15 minutes still on the clock. Mark Kalin as well, who started at the back of the field, will head down onto the safety of the pit lane. This is the battle for the lead. This is the battle behind Sean Dickinson, who continues to have, I'm sure, a handful of frustrated drivers lined up behind him. Stretches even behind Arnaud Genet, outside of the top 10 overall. Alec Bergstrom at the very back of that queue has not been able to follow Genet forward, and Genet in a similar way not able to catch on to the back of the toe of those two AM class machines. So we talked about not wanting to come in with the rest of your competitors and trying to be offset in the pit stop cycle. Pit stop cycle's open. The sequence will begin. Campbell's been punching the hole in the air. Will we see him dive in first in the Gulf colors on that venerable old Ford GT? Pit entry off to the right-hand side. And your race leaders, at least provisionally, will be staying out there.
Yeah, and now Morales 2 seconds away from Trepanier. So, Arjuna, I'm starting to think they're going to pit with maybe 10 minutes to go. At worst. Bergstrom goes for the move, and Genet goes into the pit lane.
Yep, Arnaud Genet will come indeed down to pit lane, and followed in by Campbell and Rutherford in the AM class. There we see them. Left side of the screen, you'll see those who are indeed cycling through on the pits. On board with Martin Chris, running in second for the Sim City Racing team. Remember, 2-car outfits in the team championship Sim City Racing, and in the battle against RSR by Butt Kicker, where Crisp and Dickinson sandwiched by Campbell and Lowendick for RSR by Butt Kicker. SimCity Racing taking another step to second in that particular classification. Into the hairpin, and look how Crisp closes. But I think, again, the thing that is intriguing us most of all is maybe not even the talent of Sean Campbell here today. Just the setup on that car seems to be so perfect.
I still want that setup. Ethan, if you get in touch with me at Lorenzo Bonder in Discord or any out of the my social medias, I'll pay you a bagel, $1.99, and a free Tim Hortons ticket card if you give me that setup.
The offer has been made. Now we see if Lorenzo gets his setup. Does anyone come into the pit lane this time by, though? 12.5 minutes left to run. 7 days from today, of course. Do not forget, we round out the championship at Rudskogen, the second of our new tracks and challenges in this season. And no takers to pit lane once again within the leading group. Diego Morales almost within drafting range and continuing to extend as well.
That's impressive. Dickinson into the pit lane.
Intriguing, I will be honest. I would have thought Dickinson would have wanted to stay out there and maybe slow down some of those other contenders. It's now Lowendick that will lead Patrick and Fonseca around. Bergstrom and Deering also down on pit lane.
Curious to see how fast is going to be Bergstrom's pit stop in comparison whenever Fonseca and Patrick come to the pit lane.
So 10 cars still yet to pit now, it would appear. How's it going to look like on the mirrors? There's Genet. And the undercut has worked for him. He'll clear himself of Bergstrom and close in on Dickinson 1.4 seconds. I get the feeling that Lowendick, Patrick, and Fonseca all have a reasonable chance and hope of being able to clear Dickinson's BMW in this cycle of pit stops. How will it play out, though? That is truly the question. See on the track map just how separated it has gotten through the field.
Yeah, because we still, like, all of the entirety of the top 10 needs to come into the pit lane, Arjuna, so it's going to be an interesting one whenever they come. Fastest pit stop, though, it's not from Genet. Genet actually has the second fastest pit stop in the track, and he has more than a second and nearly a second and a half, nearly 2 seconds to, actually more than 2 seconds to Dickinson. As McLaughlin is going to lose a position to maybe to Caruso here, Arjuna.
Yeah, that's down 7th and 8th in this pro class. Have noticed that Vincent Trepanier is extending the limits of the tracks on the entry to 130R. That's why you notice some of the tire tracks that are formed out there. Through the casino triangle once again, and here we go. Takers to pit lane. Campbell followed in by Chris Trepanier Morales. This is going to be the crucial money stops on pit lane. Behind them, Patrick Fonseca in as well, as they all search for their spots on the box. Will someone be able to extend longer, or is that a lapped car? That's Mark Kalin, who will get a lap back. Campbell leads them, though, 1, 2, and 3, and then 4. Morales well and truly within touching distance, and now a 10-minute sprint to the end. No moves for the lead just yet. Is that about to change?
Oh, yeah. I think Sean is going to put those tires to use a little bit here, Arjuna, so it's going to be an interesting one. He's going to have to defend like a lion moving forward, and there is a little bit of a mix-up here in the field as Genet managed to get the undercut also on Ryan Patrick, and maybe also Fonseca maybe closing the gap on Dickinson.
Fonseca jumps in front of Patrick, so keep that in mind as well. Championship leader in AM now leads that category, running 7th in the overall combined classification. Now at the front of the field, Trepanier has been dropped slightly. Not that much difference in terms of the pit stop time. It was the lane time itself where he lost out more than anything, and so he is within drafting range, yes, but has got to now get right back onto the work. Otherwise, it will be Trepanier versus Morales for the third and final step on the podium, with about 4 laps still to go.
I think Trepanier doesn't need to panic here, Arjuna, because if there's anything of crisp, if he battles for one set of curves, you know, just for one specific curve where they can lose like 2-3 tenths of a second, and Trepanier has that gap, he's going to be right about 1.3, maybe 1.2, and then you start considering maybe the draft working toward his range, but the problem is Trepanier needs to look on his rear view mirror and see Morales is coming in, and he's going to come like a lion, like a feral dog to try to hunt the prey, and he wants that podium spot for him.
On board with the Re-Race Esports number 22. Has had to fight his way to be in contention, and now will have to fight wheel to wheel once more as well. There's Mark Kalin at the front of shots. There will be some traffic for your leaders to contend with. That is, without a doubt, going to play itself out. Will it favor Campbell? Will it favor Crisp? The traffic will take, and the traffic will give. It will be as simple as that. Not just a fight at the front, by the way. Miguel Fonseca behind Sean Dickinson. I think for the time being will be content to run where he is, because of course Fonseca fighting more with Patrick, who has still got Genet between him and his AM-class rival, but you wondered how the Audi would fare out. It's not just the balance of the car that's played this car forward, though. It's the fact that strategy has worked a treat.
Yeah, and worked like a perfect Halloween treat. So it's doing wonders for that V10 of the German brand, and it's putting the pressure. And Fonseca is looking for rooms, as Ryan Patrick, I think, was overtaken by Bergstrom, and nearly saw Campbell having a little bit of a moment. Arjuna going to the hairpin, but didn't lose the position.
Let's see if we can pick up what's happened here further back in the field. Ryan Patrick at one point was leading, and now through the S's. The third time in this race alone that we've seen that, and well, he gets lucky that he doesn't hit that tire wall there. That was Bergstrom flying on past and inheriting second in class. Patrick has now unfortunately dropped outside of the top 5 in his class, as Kevin Norris will slide his way on forward as well. Trepanier has brought the gap down to a second to the duo at the front of the field. It does look as though we will have 3 laps and 4 cars fighting for the lead as we wind the season down here at Suzuka.
Yeah, and looks like Campbell is going to catch Kalen by the start-finish line, and not even at turn number 1. So Kalen just backing off to let everybody go through. So keeping the fight alive, that's what we want to see.
No dramas then, that is for sure, but you can see with 4 cars split by 2 seconds and 5.5 minutes to go, it's really Martin Crisp that looks the most likely to throw a move. Question is, where will Campbell be vulnerable? Is there a mistake potentially for the SimCity Racing 954 to take advantage of? Jump on board through the exit of the S's. This is the most important corner, because if you push out wide through here, it compromises the run out of this left. You need to be all the way to the right onto the power as early as possible. Martin Crisp nice and tidy. Poor Ryan Patrick, by the way, after his incident through that corner, Lorenzo, he is back down on pit lane.
Yeah, he got a black flag, so he's probably got to stop and hold or something of the nature, and just coming back. Oh, he didn't come back into the track, missed the stall a little bit. That's going to be just the worst for him.
Trepanier is closed, and under the brakes closes just that tad bit more. Trepanier and Morales will be thinking of the championship. Crisp and Campbell thinking solely of the victory. Remember, this is the final rounds where drop weeks can be used. Next week, even if you have bad luck, those points are part of the championship picture. But out of your first 9 rounds, you can exclude 1 of them in the championship equation. So Trepanier and Morales just looking for points on the board. And Martin Crisp, I think, closer than he's been at any point so far through 130R, but not close enough into the chicane, but close enough to think about it.
Yeah, he went for the lunge, but covered early into the entry of the corner by Sean Campbell here, Arjuna. So here we go. With the fight has started, gloves are out, and let's see if the Canadian has that V6 power to match the V8 out of the Ford, and not lose time to Trepanier, because now Trepanier is now within the drafting range, Arjuna. So that P2 can vanish really quickly.
I think part of what the focus was, as Kevin Norris and Darren Rutherford have had a bit of a coming together. Right, that one looked a bit untidy. So we're going to have to see if we can figure out what's happened with the 2 of them in a moment's time. And we get the aftermath. It's just big puffs of smoke. Rutherford already around in his Lamborghini. Here we go. We'll see. Oh, just too much speed. Loses it by himself. And then Kevin Norris has absolutely nowhere to go.
Ow. That's how I'll define this incident. Ow.
Yeah. That's a big one. It's as simple as that. Those 2 back down on pit lane along with Ryan Patrick. 29 have now become, you'd assume, 23 left out there and running. Suzuka has taken its toll on the drivers here today.
Yeah, I never knew that this figure 8 would be deadly for some of the drivers. I I know for Formula cars, it can be one of the worst tracks because of these AstroTurfs, but in GT3s, I didn't expect that.
Maybe not too unfamiliar to those that watched the GT3 race at Suzuka, the 10 hours of Suzuka on VCO Esports recently. Continuing to see, by the way, plenty of grass on the outside of 130R. I'm just bringing attention to it. That is all I am going to do. Less than 2 minutes to go, so we are heading, I think, to the final lap of the race. Sean Campbell has a bit of an advantage now, and it's Martin Crisp that's under fire with the white flag in air and 1 lap still left to go. The Ford looking to conquer in Japan. Trepanier looking for second. Crisp will squeeze him and cover him off. But 3 Porsches maybe now just focusing on the fight for second spot.
And Trepanier made a smart move, didn't try to fully commit, because if he'd done that, he might have opened the door for Morales to try to make the 3 for maybe 2 for 1 over here and just kept that 22 at bay for the time being. But we still have more than 4 kilometers to go around the track. And Trepanier, oh my god, I thought he was actually going to go off the track here, Arjuna.
It was very, very close, that's for sure. And Morales thinking about it. How aggressive do you push on the final lap of this one? We're about to find out in the battle for the championship. Trepanier Morales run 1 and 2 in points. And there's the look from the We Race Esports Porsche. He will throw it to the inside, make contact with Trepanier, take both of them out of the battle for the lead. But Trepanier should hold on to third. He had to go for it at the end of the day.
Oh no, and Morales has a black flag as well here, Arjuna. So this is going to damage his performance in the race even more.
So he will likely end up outside of the top 15 overall. Is that championship done and dusted for Vincent Trepanier? Again, Morales, well, you really could not blame him for trying. He had fought so hard here today. And a quick look at the replay up into that hairpin. It was just not to be, and the black flag will likely end the story of the championship. What a drive, though, at the front of the field. Sean Campbell took the Ford and conquered in Suzuka. It's Sean Campbell once again in victory lane for the Precision Racing League GT3 Sprint Series. It is his 4th win of the season, and if not for the multitude of penalty points that he will get for car changes, Sean Campbell would have been in the fight at the front of the championship standings. Instead, it is Vincent Trepanier that will walk away wondering, have I done enough to secure the title? Rest of the field will streak across the line. A couple of battles, including a drag race between Nathan Deering and Brett Thurman. The difference at the line shown as 0.3 of a second. Looked a little bit closer, judging just by the eye. Fun little day here at Suzuka, though, Lorenzo, as we get set in 7 days' time to wrap up the championship.
Yeah, that was a fun race. We had a little bit of everything. Some memes. Sean Campbell proving that Ford is still the most relevant car in sim racing. And won against a bunch of Porsches. I'm wondering, we need to know how much of a magic talk is that for Sean Campbell, because that is something else. And Trepanier maybe with 2 hands in the championship, we have to see. Morales finished P13 here, Arjuna.
So P13 overall, but that will be P7 in class for him. Would not expect anything further from race control for that incident, if I'm being honest. The drop down through the field, penalty enough, if I was to be asked. An eventful day out here in Suzuka, that is for sure, and here's a look at those race results. 20 laps on the board for this GT3 Sprint Series. It's Sean Campbell, Martin Crisp, and Vincent Trepanier, the podium. The mighty Ford coming out on top against the might of the Porsches. You've got Ted Lowendick, in 4th in front of Sean Dickinson, and then Miguel Angel Fonseca, the AM Class Championship leader, grabbing yet another victory on the season. Only 17 seconds back from Sean Campbell. A 4th win in 9 races for the number 11. Arnaud Genet fights his way back forward to 7th in front of Alec Bergstrom, 2nd in class, and Nathan Deering rounding out the AM Class podium. Brett Thurman, 10th overall in front of Rob Campbell and Turner Schroll, Diego Morales, as Lorenzo mentioned, down in 13th, in front though of Alex Caruso, Vincent Sepulveda and Nick McLaughlin, all in class. Then David Van Roy and Pete Newhook in their privateer Porsche 17th and 18th. David Morse in the SRT Esports BMW 19th, with Marc-Andre Deschardin in 20th. And then a handful of those that struggled, Ryan Patrick included, after being at the front of the field in your GT3 AM class before the pit cycle. He's 21st in the classifications, with Caleb Lehman and Mark Caleb scored as one lap down. Darren Rutherford and Caven Norris 24th and 25th for them, with Sean Carmody, Colin McKenzie, Blake ZT, Ryan Pucktail, Aldo Secklin, as well as Mitchell Ian Green rounding out the field here today. So that was a look top to bottom as at your race results, and I'll grab the opportunity to chat with some of the drivers. Still waiting for Sean Campbell, who sometimes decides he does not want to grace us with his presence, so instead let's have Lorenzo Bondo standing by with the AM class winner Miguel Angel Fonseca.
So Miguel, congratulations on the win. That was hard fought because you had competition in the AM class from start to finish, but man, that Audi held until the end.
Yeah, it was really hard. I went off track a few times. I was at 11 penalty points, I believe. Yeah, I was very nervous at the end.
Oh, so you're just on the ground, on the cusp of maybe getting a penalty, but that might have felt good at the end. Your competitors in the class didn't do as well as probably they wanted to in this race, and going to now to Rudskogen, what's the goal and get that title, and how aggressive you want to be out of the gate?
Yeah, well, I really don't know that track. I ran a practice session last night, and it's kind of technical. I believe I will do good, but yeah, let's see.
Well, Miguel, again, man, congratulations. That was close, to say the very least, but you got there in the end, and can't wait to see what you're going to do at the Norwegian track in 1 week.
Thank you, guys.
That was Miguel Angel Fonseca, victorious in your AM class, and now we're joined by Sean Campbell, winner in the Pro class. Sean, another new car for you this season, another 20-point penalty, but another victory as well. How much fun did you have out there in the Ford here today?
A lot. I had a lot of fun. The Ford is awesome.
How much do you owe of that, though, to the setup that you were provided by Ethan Bass?
100% of it.
It did look like you were on rails.
Yeah, except for the hairpin, but that's mainly my fault. I was braking too hard and locking the rears, but the setup was mythical.
Did you have any damage at the front of your car? Because I did notice a bit of a crumpled in front end. Was that something you were having to deal with?
I didn't notice it, but it was probably where I hit the curb at Degner, because this thing is squishy.
Squishy describes it well. Of course, Rudskogen coming up in a week's time to round up the championship. But, looking forward for the rest of the year, what else does Sean Campbell have on deck for 2022?
I don't know. I really don't know. I thought I was more confident about what I'm going to do. But, I don't know. Have fun, I guess.
I'm just saying we missed you in the Lionheart Retro Series.
Yeah, stuff. I don't know how to say it.
Fair enough. Sean Campbell victorious in the Ford, joining us once more, at least gracing us with his presence. Let's head, though, to the second step of the podium, where Martin Crisp pushed Sean all the way to the end. Lorenzo standing by with Martin Crisp.
So, Martin, congratulations on P2, but I gotta ask, man, how hard is it for you to lose to a Ford?
You should ask me how hard is it to lose to Sean Campbell, and it's not hard at all. He's an amazing driver, so we'll just leave it at that.
Fair point, Martin. But that was a really good race from start to finish. I know you try to get some spots for you to try to push that car. I know you're fighting for the top 5 in the championship, a little bit way outside of the top 3. But you got to say, it must be a pleasing result coming to Suzuka and getting some solid points.
Yeah, I mean, it was last week really took me out of the top 3 for sure. But, this week I just figured, well, I just want to make sure I get team points, not do anything too risky. I tried a couple of moves, but I just couldn't get close enough in the draft of that really fast Ford. I was quicker in the corners, but he was quicker in the straights, and I just couldn't mount a challenge in the braking zones because I couldn't get close enough. But it was good fun, clean racing, and congrats to Sean. I don't know what happened to Vincent and Daniel Morales, but I saw them get together in the second last lap or something.
Yeah, it was on the hairpin, and but things happen, race things, and now going to Rusk again, a track that many drivers were saying don't have a lot of intimacy with. And on your end, do you have any intimacy with the Norwegian track in the GT3s?
I did 3 laps on it today. Those are my first 3 laps ever.
Nice.
Looks kind of like Oschersleben in a way, like really tight and technical, and won't be much passing, but looks like a fun track. I have to learn it, of course, like I'm sure a lot of people, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Right on. Martin and Mel, enjoy your weekly break, get some training, and can't wait to see you on the finale next week.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
And that will wrap up our post-race interviews. Thank you to those 3 drivers for joining us. Unfortunately, not enough time to talk to everyone we'd love to talk to. Lorenzo, you talked with a couple of those drivers about what's up next. Rudskogen, of course, to round out the season. And, of course, that's a round where you cannot forget about the results of that race in terms of the championship. Tight Twisty, you've raced it in some open wheel machines.
Oh yeah.
What are we expecting though in the GT3s?
I really don't know. It's gonna be. I think Martin kind of like hit the nail on the head a little bit, because it does feel like Oschersleben in terms of overtaking, especially through the twisty sections. Getting outside of sector number 1, then going to sector number 3 is a little bit tricky for you to navigate, because there's so many radiuses in terms of how you do the corners. So you can catch some of the drivers off balance, maybe in the middle of the race, and I think strategy might be key in terms of when you pit stop, because I don't think the undercut is going to be really powerful over here than anything else. So can't wait to see how it's going to be at the end of next Tuesday to wrap up this very nice season of GT3 action here on the PRL.
And it's true, all good things will come to an end 7 days from today. Championship showdown time, with 3 champions to be crowned across of the GT3 Fixed and the GT3 Sprint Series. For today, though, it is time to bid you farewell. Another doubleheader of GT3 action has come to a close, and this may be the most chaotic week that we've had in the last handful of rounds. Suzuka lived up to the billing as a destination for exciting racing. And my word, what worthy winners we have crowned here today. On behalf of the entire team at RaceSpotTV, thank you for joining us once more here for some more great Precision Racing League action. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Lorenzo Bonder, but in a week's time, don't worry, the voice of the PRL will be back, Joey Tabin, to walk you through all of the championship showdown action. We'll see you from Rudskogen, though, to wrap up the season. For now, it is so long goodbye, and enjoy the rest of the long iRacing week.